The war, you can tell how they train. Coaches coach and players play, but they learn from each other. If the roles reverse, then Jason Kidd, we assist one another. Making strides for a ship in the regular season. Lacing up these Knights of band of brothers, turning into some demons. Through the season, spring to fall, we gon' see who is working. When the winter hit the surface, gon' see who deserve it. Left competition in the dust, now the opposite deserted. Only lions in my circle, we hungry for purpose. Nothing's given all these stripes, you can see that I earned them. Can't fuck the system, take the knowledge and study and learn. As the weakest 1 through 12 is equal, tried to trap me, saw it now. You know, I had to thread the needle. Try erase and draw it up, just trying to see my youngins eating. Yeah, you know, I had to thread the needle, try erase and draw it up, just trying to see my youngins eating.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Coaches Show, for the coaches, by the coaches. Today we have a guest in, Coach Bruce Shingler from South Carolina, University of South Carolina. How you doing, Coach?
What's up, Coach?
How
glad
you
to have
doing
you.
today?
I'm good. I mean, yeah, I'm glad to be a part of this. So I'm looking forward to spending an hour, talking a little basketball, talking a little hoops with everybody.
All right, definitely. So the coaches, we already prepared our pregame speeches, and we getting ready to jump balls. So we're gonna hop into the first question. The first question coming from me. Coach, can you tell people out there how did you realize that you wanted to be a basketball coach, and how was that journey getting into coaching?
I think, that's a good question. I think my interest in the coaching probably started at a very, very young age. I mean, I want to say 11, 12, I would grab guys around the neighborhood, and instead of going and playing, pickup, I would have guys, we'll put out chairs and stuff and do drills, and I would run camp as if I was a director or a coach. So like the leadership, the coaching thing to me has always been something. So I would grab all the guys in the neighborhood, and instead of, just playing 5-on-5, 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 33, it's like, hey, come on, let's do some drills, and let's simulate what a camp would be like. So I knew coaching was in me at a very young age.
Yeah, absolutely. And I firsthand, I understand, and I know that story too well. And you still doing it to this day, whether it be basketball or Madden or whatever may have you, orchestrating the people, getting the people together. So that's great insight.
Yeah, I've always been a leader. You know what I mean? I just, coming up where I come from, where you had so many distractions, ways you can go left, go right. I always paved my own path and kind of, follow my own lead, and I was always a leader.
Yeah, appreciate that. And I definitely, it's a good answer, man. I appreciate that for the people, man. I'm going to pass the ball on to Coach Small from Washington Venice University.
What's going on, Coach?
What's up, Dez?
Ain't too much. So obviously we know a lot about you, but for the people, tell us about your coaching journey. Where you started, and how did it all levels of D1 and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, my playing career, I played high school basketball at Bladensburg Senior High School, that great Bladensburg Senior High School, and I went on obviously because of academic reasons. Went on to play junior college basketball. Junior college basketball in New York led me to Division II basketball at St. Aug University. And from there, graduated from St. Aug and was, just like any other student athlete that graduate HBCU, trying to figure out his way into what we call this world. I didn't know what was next. I just knew that basketball was something that I wanted to be a part of. So, prior to graduation, I'm trying to figure it out. I get back to the DMV area, I need a paycheck. So I'm saying, hey, look, I got to figure this thing out. So what I did was I started substitute teaching at Friendship Collegiate Academy, the elementary on Martin Luther King Avenue. And I did that for a year. And obviously, as we find hard times in trying to build ourselves. And they end up closing the school down or letting go certain staff members, and I was a sub, so I wasn't essential, so they let me go, and I was like, what's next for me? So what happened was I reached back to my old high school at Bladensburg High School. Coach, the late James Butler, gave me an opportunity to coach on the team. I applied for a substitute teaching job there. They hired me at Bladensburg. Went on to start coaching high school basketball. That's where I met you at, Desmond. That was my first year of coaching. I was assistant coach. Coach Butler kind of gave me a lot of good responsibilities, and I took that one from there. And from there, I just said, this ain't the end. This ain't the end of everything. I want to take it on a little further. As you know, Desmond, Wally Judge was one of those top recruits that a lot of coaches want. I had prior relationships through grassroots, through like the DC Assault organization, which helped me build a relationship with Frank Martin, who offered me a job at Kansas State as a support staff. From Kansas State, I spent a season there with Frank Martin on that staff. We ended up losing to Wisconsin, a really good Wisconsin team in the second round of the NCAA tournament. And then obviously the basketball takes you different places. So my next option was, do I stay in my role as an administrative assistant at Kansas State, or do I expand it a little bit and see what I can go with? So I actually took on a role as I would say a paid babysitter for Michael Beasley and when he got drafted by the Miami Heat, which also opened up avenues that I never thought would open. I built a relationship with the staff at the Miami Heat, got to know Pat Riley really well, got to know Eric Spoelstra, got to know David Fisdale, who's was the head coach with the Memphis Grizzlies and the New York Knicks. Now is I seen something as late as yesterday as he's probably going to coach that select team for the G League thing that they starting with a lot of the new high school guys coming out, going straight to the G League. So basketball has took me to Miami, and I said, you know what, this babysitting thing is getting a little old. Let me try to figure it out. So obviously went back to my great alma mater of Bladensburg High School. Did a season there again with Coach Butler, Coach O, and then that opened up some avenues for me to coach. So I took that high school year and also coached once again back with DC Assault, the grassroots thing, and opened up an opportunity for me to get a coaching job, my first coaching job at Morgan State University. At Morgan State, I worked for Coach Todd Bozeman, who did an excellent job at the MEAC level. He was also one of the rising black head coaches at the University of Cal, where he coached Jason Kidd and coached those guys to an NCAA tournament. So Coach Bozeman gave me my first shot in the business, which I'm forever thankful for. And as you know, as you get into business, you build a great network. So I built that network with different coaches being on the road recruiting. Pat Scary at Towson. I remained. I applied for the job the first time around, didn't get it. I stayed persistent. I reached out to him throughout the whole entire year. They were going through a 1-31 year, but I was making sure I maintained a relationship with him. And a year later, he calls me and said, "Hey, I got a job for you." So, with no hesitation, the financials matched. Bozeman gave me a good opportunity to get my feet wet. And Pat Scurry, said, "Hey, look, I got some more money for you, and I got a better opportunity." So I took advantage of the opportunity. Spent 4 years there, and was part of one of the biggest turnarounds in college basketball history, from a 1-31 team going 19-11 the following year. And then years after that, we got better. And once again, opportunity knocks again because of my persistence, because of my relationships that I built. Frank Martin calls me, 4 years later and say, "Hey, I got a spot for you. Would you be open for that idea?" And I said, once again, SEC basketball, without hesitation, I jumped on board to a guy that, you know, seen something in me back in Bladensburg when I was coaching the likes of Gerald Williams, Desmond Smalls, Wally Judge, Israel, John Kamara, Jeff Mack, and if I forget any names, you know, those guys who helped me pave the way to, you know, fast forward in my life. Now Frank Martin, you know, 10 years later is calling me saying, hey, I appreciate all that you've done for me. I got another job for you. And I, you know, without hesitation, you know, I took that job and the opportunity to get in the SEC. And, you know, my first year, you know, at South Carolina, I was fortunate to be around a great group of young men, which, you know, led us all the way to the Final Four. And that Final Four experience is one of a life-changing experience. I've never imagined, you know, just playing in front of 90,000 people. I had to pinch myself a little bit to say, damn, is this real? But, you know, that experience, I will always take that one into my next journey. And once again, you know, Frank Martin gave me the opportunity to get to that point. So that's pretty much how the journey started. I don't know if I was long-winded with it, but you know, it's a journey of persistence. It's a journey of strong relationships. It's a journey of not quitting, always staying true to yourself, always trusting the man upstairs to pave that way.
No, it wasn't long-winded, man. Some people, you know, for the people out here, especially young coaches like myself, I mean, you being the representative of Bladensburg, and coaching me in high school, you always been a great example of somebody I can look to for advice, or somebody that kind of paved the way, especially from Bladensburg specifically, as one of the major examples that we have, especially in the coaching world. So for the people who don't really know you like that, I'm glad that you paved that way, because it took, you know, you shared, or you may seem long-winded, because, you know, people think that coaching, or they try to skip the grind and they don't know relationships, and you got to go to this step, to that step to make it. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing your entire journey, and man, what, you know, I'm always proud of you, you my guy. But I'm gonna go ahead and pass the next question to Desmond Wade.
Coach, how you doing, man?
Coach Wade, what's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm pretty good, man. Kind of like Coach Small said, man, it's good to hear your story. I don't believe we've ever met in person. So it's good. I'm from PG County as well, so it's good to hear, you know, where you come from and the journey you took to get there.
I appreciate that, man. I just, you know, my thing is, you know, giving back has always been something that's heavy, that weigh on me a lot. You know, I'm a firm believer. You know, the more you have, the more you can give. And, you know, obviously, you know, knowledge is power. And if I could help, you know, any young coach, any aspiring coach, because it can be done. It can be done. I'm a prime example. I'm a walking testimony that you can come from inner city high schools, PG County public high schools, you know, low revenue, low income families, to, you know, and like Desmond said, the grind, as long as the grind stays the same and the commitment stays the same, that we all can do it. So giving back insight, you know, information, you know, the stories that I get, I'm privileged to be around a lot of wonderful basketball minds every day. And I'm like a sponge. I'm still soaking information every single day. I'm trying to find a way to be great. And I always realize, if I'm the smartest person in that room, then I need to go into a new room, you know. And that's been my motto as I continue my journey, is to become smarter, you know, continue to reinvent myself. And because as we know, times change, and if you don't adapt to the time, then you can get left behind. I gotta always continue to try to reinvent myself and push myself to be better.
Man, that's good, man. Listen, I'm a sponge now. I'm definitely taking it all in. So my question for you, you coach in a lot of different conferences and work with a lot of great coaches. Frank Frank Martin, Todd Bozeman, Pat Scary. What are some takeaways that you take from those coaches that kind of stuck with you?
Well, that's a great question. And each coach I worked for had different personalities. They also had different working styles and different ways they ran a program. So, for me, the biggest adjustment, to being an assistant coach, and I know Chuck Henry could probably contest to this one, as being a Division I assistant, you have to adjust to your boss. You got to adjust to what, the style, what they look for from a recruiting standpoint, from an individual offensive standpoint, how they defend, how they run their day-to-day operations. So you take a part of every coach. So I've taken a part of Coach Bozeman. I've taken a part of Coach Scary, and I've taken a large part of Coach Frank Martin, and helped me put all of that together to create not just the things that I want to do better as a coach, but also teach me some things that I don't want to do as a head coach based on some of the negatives that come with it as well. So I think, as you grow and you work for different guys, you take good and you take bad, and it builds you into that person that you want to be.
Man, absolutely. It's funny hearing you say that. You said with the negative, and I guess one of the takeaways I've taken away from one coach, he said, you're never above any job. So whether it's sweeping the floor or anything like that, I always keep that in my mind. So definitely appreciate your insight on that, man.
Yeah, I just believe that, that's it. That no job is too small. I'm a prime believer in that, because I started at the lowest level. I played at a low level, and I think no job is too small. It's all about your grind, your focus, and you take it, and you take the opportunity. You take the opportunity, you run with it, and you're just fortunate, and you make the best out of it. Whether it's like you say, sweeping the floors, or it's the CEO of a company, you gotta take that grind, and you gotta take that mentality. It's like, I want to be better, and in order for me to be better, I gotta accept the smaller tasks.
Man, definitely appreciate that. I'm gonna take this time and pass you over to Coach Chuck from Fairmont Heights.
What's up, Coach? How you doing, man?
What's up, Coach? How are you? First
Oh,
and
man, I'm
foremost,
doing good, man.
Before you start, I want to, I was following you. You've been doing an amazing job. I'm proud to not just be here, but call you a friend, especially a friend in the business, because I admire your grind as well. Just seeing you as a Division I assistant, go back to, PG County Public Schools and give that insight and that toolage and the knowledge it takes a strong individual to go back into, a Fairmont Heights, C Pleasant, Capitol Heights area type of school. And what's that area called? It's not C Pleasant, but it's not Capitol Heights. What's that Fairmont Heights? Is it Fairmont Heights?
Kentland.
Kentland.
Huh?
It's in Kentland now.
Okay, yeah, because they got the new place, right? The new building.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it takes a strong individual to deal with the daily grind of the public school, the public schools rules, the public school kids. It's a fight every day, and I want to commend you on all your good work.
Man, I appreciate that, man. I definitely do. I think a lot of times people always look at it as, one of two things. Either it's always a stepping stone, or, you're trying to build something. And to be real with you, man, I wanna build this area up, because it's not what it was in 99, 2000, 2001, like when I graduated.
Right.
It was crazy then, man. Most of the All Met team was, PG County Public School guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And ultimately, I want to get it back to that, man.
And that's I mean, I think I think part of getting it back is changing the narrative. Changing the narrative. And when I say the narrative, because I see this because I recruit in the county. Most of the kids that the quote unquote good kids, they go to the private schools because one of the negative things that come with the public schools is the education barrier, and they feel like, you know, if I go to a private school, I got a better chance academically, and I got a better chance to go into a 4-year school or getting recruited the way I want to get recruited. So my thing is, I think it starts with changing the narrative, and it starts with, you know, all of us, you know, just, you know, kind of going and imposing our will on the people that run the county officials, those guys that make the decisions to help, you know, migrate some of these kids back into the public schools.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. And that's something we're working on, man, is to change the narrative. And that's actually a great segue into my question, because in regards to being able to change the narrative, we as coaches, we need to know what it looks like coming from guys like yourself who are high-level coaches. So having the experience of having gone through the Big 12, the MEAC, you know, the CAA, and now the SEC, tell us what it looks like from your perspective in regards to the players. You know, what's the talent level difference in all of the different leagues that you've been in? I think for us that gives us great insight, because now we know, you know, what type of kid or what are you looking for physically from a student athlete in order to be able to play at that level.
Well, see, I you know, I'm a little biased, you know, being a PG County player, you get what I'm saying? So I'm biased when it comes to, like, you have to recruit a kid from the WCAC or, you know, the private schools, the DeMathers, who have really great programs. They've always had great programs since I've been playing. But, you know, for me, you know, I think that's different, because I don't care where you play at. You know what I mean? I don't care where you play at. And, you know, particularly what school you come from. If a basketball player is a basketball player, and I've always learned, you know, to trust your eye. You know what I mean? I don't really particularly care about what the rankings say, what school he goes to, how, you know, the different AAU programs he came from. I can care less of that. I don't care what the streets say. I come and I trust my eye. And what I look for is, number one, I'm looking for, you know, what fits the mold of our program, what fits the mold of my head coach. And the number one thing when I think about what fits my coach is character. You know what I mean? Like, that's the number one thing. I look at what fits him, and then what's next. You know, are you coachable? You know, everybody, you know, looks at Frank Martin and hears all the horror stories that, you know, he's yelling, he's in your face, he coaches you hard. I think all coaches yell in your face and coach you hard. And if they're not in your face and coaching you hard and holding you accountable, then they're a disservice to you. So I'm looking for a kid that character's first, and then obviously is he coachable, and then I can find a dynamic. Then we can talk about your attributes. You know what I mean? My thing is, I always say this, and it's crazy. People always ask. I said, can he dribble? Can he pass? Can he shoot? Okay, if he can do all three, then you know what? He got a chance. Now, how well he does all three, we're gonna have to figure out. But can he dribble? Can he pass? Can he shoot? Okay, he can dribble, he can pass, and he can shoot. All right, now let's see what's next. And then that's when I start evaluating. Obviously, I come from a program where we evaluate a little different. We're not the sending 100 offers to 90, 125 different players and telling them all 125 of them how good of a player they are when we only got 2 scholarships on the table. And then what we do is, you know, sometimes, and I'm not downing any program that does that, but we don't believe in misleading, misguiding, or giving false information to kids who now in this generation rely on offers and interest to boast their status quota amongst their peers via social media, via Twitter, via Instagram, and all the outlets that those guys use to put out information.
Gotcha. No, that's good to know, because You know, it's good to know because not everybody recruits that way like you guys do. And it's good to see that some guys kind of have, you know, that's almost like an old school recruiting tactic in a sense.
Wait, hey,
Uh,
Chuck, you got to realize this. Sorry to cut you off, but you know, like if you think about South Carolina, you know, and that's why I always tell people to, you know, you got to do your homework on these programs. You got to, you know, when you start investing your time and you want to get recruited and you like these schools, you don't just fall in love with the brand and the logo and the league and the level. Get to know the head coaches. Frank Martin was just like all of us, come from public schools. He was a Miami high school public school teacher. You know what I mean? He was an educator first. I was an educator. You know, Coach Chuck Martin, who's coached at every different level, was an educator first. He was in a classroom at his back in New York City at St. Raymond's High School. Perry Clark, who's won a lot of games as a head coach, was a national coach of the year at Tulane, who's ran programs like the University of Miami, started his career in the classroom as a teacher at the master. And, you know, so like we educators first, you know what I mean? So we come from the classroom. So we know how important, you know, for me personally, the inner city, how hard it is and how tough it is to coach in the inner city, how tough it is to coach in the county and coach at your alma mater. And so like, our staff understands the values of the grind and understands the value of the kids in the recruiting process, which makes us approach recruiting differently.
No, that makes sense. So thinking about the value of the grind, tell me what you would see as a steal for the University of South Carolina.
You know, I think a steal, you know, I mean, because, you know, if you look at, you know, if you look at the league that we're in the SEC, the powerful SEC, that's dominated by the likes of Kentucky, who steal the headlines because they get, you know, the top 25 kids in the country every year. They get 5 pros, they get, you know, 6 McDonald's All-Americans, followed by Florida, Tennessee, and then obviously with the emergence of Auburn and LSU. You know, our conference is based on, you know, that name or what steals the press conference or what steals the media because of, you know, the likes of the Evan Daniels or the John Rothsteins or the Jeff Goodmans of the world ranking and making these kids, you know, set out to be the next coming. We recruit a little different. You know, we kind of look for the guys that some think ain't good enough or not ranked as high as they're supposed to be, but they do have the intangibles that we're looking for. They have the toughness, they have the grit, they have the coachability, they have the upside that sometimes get missed and lost in translation because of the fact that, you know, they play on a high-level AAU team and is dominated by that top two or three guy. But then, you know, what's in that back gym? I'm always a fan of what's in that side gym, especially from the AAU standpoint. What's in that side gym? Who's that kid right there that's getting every rebound? Who's talking on the floor? Who's aggressive? Who's committed? Who's coachable? Who's diving on the floor? Who fits us? And then, you know, obviously, you know, I look at it like, you know, we get in recruiting wars with Kentucky and Duke and LSU. 9 times out of 10, we're not going to win that war. You know what I mean? It's the reality of things. But we do at the end of the day, we out evaluate. And so sometimes what we don't get as the McDonald's All-American or the ones that the people say are that good, we out evaluate you and we get the ones that's just right there that some people might think not good enough for our level, our league, and then you know what, they end up being first team all freshmen, and they end up being the Dwayne Notices and the Justin Mackeys of our Final Four team to help us get to the Final Four.
Gotcha. No, that's great, man. That definitely helps me because I know I got some guys who have that kind of toughness, and I think once they see this and hear it from a high-level Division I coach, it really helps breed that sort of thought process that, hey, man, I can't make this happen from PG County Public Schools.
Absolutely, so and my advice, Chuck, my thing is like, don't that ranking stuff. That's that's probably a guy who's never played basketball, who doesn't evaluate, but just going off of what somebody else is telling him. My thing is, whether you won or you 357, the grind don't stop. You get what I'm saying? Like the work doesn't stop. So if you feel like you're under recruited or you're not getting the looks that you want, one thing I would say to all the young kids coming up and the young coaches, and especially the young kids, trust your coaches, man. Trust the coaches because one, they've been through it, they know it, they've seen it, and then most importantly, at the end of the day, outwork the next guy. And if you don't feel like that you're not getting your chance, work a little harder.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, well, I'm gonna hit the behind the back pass to Coach Kamar, and he gonna hit you with the give and go.
I got you. Appreciate it.
My man.
What's going on, Coach? Glad to have you. Definitely appreciate you on today, man. Definitely appreciate it.
Thank you, John. Thank you. I remember getting on you back in the day when I coached you. You know, I wanted you to use your left hand more. You know, so I would stay on you like, John, get in that lane, put pressure on the defense, use your left hand. And by the time you was a senior and it was time to make that run, they couldn't stop you going left or stop you going right.
Definitely appreciate it, man. You getting on this every day, summer leagues and all that, and then we definitely got better. I think everybody on that team, even people from the previous team, they pay a lot of respect to you on that run. So, you know, definitely always respect you for that. So my question to you, I mean, today you've been using the word grind a lot, and you just, you know, you hit on for the kids, and you told them about the grind. So let's talk about the grind of it, you know, the day-to-day of assistant coach, off season, in season, game day, and practice day. Can you walk the people through it? I think a lot of people want to be, you know, coaches aspire to, you know, go to the next level, but they may not know what it takes on a day-to-day basis. Walk through those couple days.
Unfortunately, obviously, the COVID-19 pandemic has kind of put us in a box a little bit. But you would be surprised, man, that this thing never stops, man. This coaching never stops. It's a everyday. It's a 365. It's a 24/7 job. You know. You have to be on point every single day that you wake up. And for me, you know, like I said, you know, in order for me to get where I want to be professionally and personally, and for my team and you know, our university to get where we got to be, I got to outwork the competitors. I got to outwork LSU. I got to outwork Kentucky. I got to outwork Vanderbilt. Because they don't stop, you know, and the commitment to excellence, everybody has their eyes on the prize. And because, you know, obviously this is, you know, unlike coaching AAU basketball, you know, you lose a game or two, or, you know, sometimes in high school basketball, you lose a game or two, you know, you still got your teaching job. But this one right here, this is how we remotely feed our family. So every day is an opportunity to get better. And, you know, the day for me starts at you know, 7 in the morning, where my son is a rising ninth grader. He's getting out to go to school. My daughter, you know, is in daycare, so he's dropping him off at daycare because I'm committed to that. Every day I'm committed to making sure that my family is protected and they're taken care of before I go on to my day. So I drop my daughter off to daycare every single day. And then it's down into the office, and it's down into the office, whether it's off season or during the season, it's preparation for that moment. So, you know, on a game day, you know, it would be more of a relaxed situation because, you know, we know what we got ahead of us. We got a game, so get prepared for a shoot around, prepare for a scouting report, prepare the guys to get ready for, you know, for the opponent. But then in the off season, like a time like now, you know, we're creating innovative ways to get our team better. And I truly believe, especially like now with this COVID-19, the team that's innovative, the team that's as creative as they can be, given the circumstances that we can't go do individual workouts, we can't we can't work them out. We can't do anything with them in the physical component. So how can we reach them from a technology standpoint via Zoom, via FaceTime, via video? So we got to find creative ideas to not just get our team united and keep us united, but creative ways to keep our guys learning and remaining focused. Because, like I said, the team or the school that is as most connected, that is innovative, that can get their guys some growth through this time will be the team that ends up being a really good team when all this is over with and said and done. So, you know, for 3 times a week, we take our guys and we do a Zoom meeting just like we're doing, and we pick out a certain topic for our guys to do. And in the last 2 weeks, we were doing our zone defense. And so what we'll do is we'll send our guys, 20 clips of our zone defense, and we'll have all the guys watch it. And then, when the meeting starts, Frank will get it going, and then he'll run the first clip, and then whoever he calls on has to break the clip down, the good, the bad. And then what we've been focusing on more now is calling your teammate out, and not in a negative way, but what we call constructive criticism, and tell your teammate, hey man, I didn't like how you didn't close out with your hands high. I didn't like how, you didn't box this guy out on the rebound. And we make sure that the teammates, instead of coaches holding the players accountable, we make our players hold each other accountable. And so we do that, 3 times a week. The NCAA grants us, I think it's 8 hours a week that we can do this. So we spend almost, 4 to 5 hours in that, that week trying to get our teams better. And recently we did a unbelievable project, that I wish I could share with a lot of different people. But we did, we're doing a project with our guys right now, and we sent our guys two names of alumni that played at the University of South Carolina. And those 2 names, we asked our guys to go and research those guys, do some homework on those guys, get to know those guys, Google, whatever information device that they can use, Wikipedia, whatever, get to know those guys. And then we sent them their address, and we're telling our guys to write them a handwritten letter. Tell them who you are, what year you are, what position you play, where you come from, a little bit about your background, and a little bit of why you're writing them, to just kind of build a relationship. And we asked all our guys. So one of our guys, Jermaine Kuzma, is a freshman. We gave him Mike Dunleavy. Some people, Mike Dunleavy played here at the University of South Carolina, was a GM, was an NBA head coach forever, a legend in the NBA. But not only was he that, but his brother is, runs one of the best Fortune 500 companies, hedge funds in New York City. And so the idea of it was build a relationship with guys, because you never know what that relationship with that little letter would do for you moving forward. And so take that letter and write them, and you never know if you can just personally touch them. And you built a relationship with a guy who's coached in that league, who was a GM in that league, who was a player in that league, who taught in that league. Now you have a relationship with a guy that's going to last forever, and you have a connection with that guy. So if it doesn't work for the NBA, guess what? His brother owns a hedge fund. Now you put yourself in different avenues to open up and broaden your horizon when it comes to just your individual excellence. And so that's kind of what we've been doing. I know I ran off topic a little bit with that, John, but that's what we've been doing to kind of stay relevant and keep up with the daily grind of the day.
No, I think you did an excellent job. I'm gonna speak on behalf of the panel, not even the panel. I think, just by that, whoever watches this is going to become a better coach, by watching what you just said, especially, progressing through this pandemic and still grinding. I think any coach can go back and take away and just be like, well, I need to do something better with my program, or if I'm doing something, I can do more to become a better coach. And that's what a lot of coaches are doing right now. We got to push our players to that extent too. So whoever gets to watch this is going to be, you know, honored to learn a little bit more about coaching and what they can do through these times. So thank you. And I'm just going to pass it to Coach Will Maynard from Southern.
Coach, you know,
Coach
I'm
Will.
my man. I mean, I wish I had got
Stop
the.
before you go. Stop. You cannot talk about the 36 points that you gave me. All right, we're gonna leave that in 1998. All right, please don't bring that up. I know you was a bucket getter. All right.
Hey, you was tough too. I was just telling a dude last week about how tough you was. Honest to God, I was just telling somebody that. I was like, man, Bruce can play, man. He's like, for real? I said, yeah, he can play, man. It's just,
I
you know,
wasn't known for a player. I think I'm known for just being a basketball coach, but I thought I was a pretty decent basketball player coming up though.
yeah, it was. And I actually had saw y'all play early that year because my cousin was good friends with Neil. He played with me too down Southern. So
Okay.
I had actually saw y'all play and stuff like that. And I was like, dang, that point guard tough. And you was dirty too. You ain't put up with no stuff on the court either.
No. I had a little edge to me. You know what I mean? I think I had an edge because I was always told that like I wasn't good enough. I don't belong, and that's been my like just my drive every day because I was always being told you're just not good enough. You're not good enough. You can't play the point. You can't shoot it well enough to play the two. You know, you're skinny. You're not strong enough. So I always looked at that and took that as motivation. So whenever I did get an opportunity, I played with a little edge, and the same edge that I try to teach and teach all the guys that come my way. Like you might not be tall enough, you or considered tall enough, or you might not be strong enough. But like if you got an edge, you got a certain level of heart, a certain level of toughness that will always get you over the hump.
Yeah, and that was like the kind of the chip on the shoulder that I always had as a player. Like I was telling you yesterday, you know, I spent a lot of my childhood years in PG County. So, you know, whenever I played against a PG County team, I always played with a chip on my shoulder because I always felt like I had to show them like, you know, we can hoop in Anne Arundel County too. Obviously, we don't have the talent that PG had, but, you know, just try to show them there's some other ballers out there besides what's out there in the PG, DC area.
Absolutely.
But I definitely love just hearing about your story, especially being the same age and just hearing your story. And me being a coach at a high school level for now 16 years, I actually have a couple of kids that's coaching college. One at the Division III level at Washington College, another one coaching Division II at Seton Hill. And I know both of them have aspirations to be on a Division I level like most people do. So what advice would you give any young coach, whether it be somebody at a lower level or somebody from the high school level who has aspirations to be at the Division I level as an assistant?
Yeah, I guess my number one advice would be, you know, like just continue to build relationships. I think this business is a relationship driven business, you know, and it's building relationships. Never limit, you know, your conversation. Never look at, you know, sometimes, you know, it can get intimidated. I know it got intimidated for me when I was at Morgan State, and you would see, you know, an assistant from Kentucky, and just because he had that logo, you know, just because it looked like Kentucky, and I'm at the smaller school, like don't limit your, you know, your conversations. Don't be active, be proactive, engage in conversations, open yourself up to different guys, write a letter, send a business card, you know, send an email. If you get a chance to, you know, if you're on a road recruiting or you in the same vicinity as a coach, go up and introduce yourself, you know, tell who you are, you know, just be engaging and continue to network and build relationships. And that helped me. And I had to learn that because I was a stubborn dude. I've always been stubborn. So I would look at a guy and say, you know what, I'm not going to say anything to him, or he might think, I always kind of had that perception of like, oh, he looked at me as the little guy, but no, that we all are human, man. We all have came up in different paths. And most of the guys in this business, a lot of the guys in this business have came up through humbling experiences, and they understand the grind of a young coach that's trying to get to that level, because most of them was young coaches. Like I said, Frank Martin was a high school coach. He was a low major coach. You know what I mean? Chuck Martin was a high school coach. He was he coached at Drexel. He coached at UMass. He coached at Kentucky. He was the head coach at Marist. He understands that, we all come up in different paths. So don't limit yourself into building relationships. So like, you just email, text message. If you ever get a chance to, go to a coach's clinic or I know in Final Four, they offer those NABC clinics where all the coaches are. Just shake hands, shake hands, introduce yourself, and don't limit yourself.
Yeah, I forgot that Chuck Martin was down there. I met him when he was the head coach at Marist. He had actually offered one of my kids when he was up there. He was a nice guy.
Good guy, really good guy. Really great basketball brain. He was, like I said, he was Coach Calipari's assistant on that Kentucky team that lost to Kansas in the national championship. He was on Indiana team, assistant with Tom Crean on the Indiana team that won the Big Ten. He also got a chance to work in the NBA front office with the Oklahoma City Thunder, which he was sitting right next to Sam Presti, who's arguably one of the best GMs in the NBA, and Billy Donovan, one of the best basketball brains in the NBA. So and those are relationships that you build, that that you can take with you as you continue your journey. Those are the guys that I'm going to lean forward on when it's time for me to take that next step. And like you say, just building that network.
And then see, that's one reason why I like to tell my kids all the time. I always tell them, like, if you're being recruited by a Division III school, a Division II school, and maybe you're Division I, or regardless of what level, you always need to be cordial to these coaches, thank them for recruiting and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, that Division III assistant might mess around, be that Division I ops guy or that Division I third assistant. Absolutely. So you never know. So at the blink of an eye, that person that you turn the cold shoulder on could be a guy that you're going to lean on to possibly get that scholarship.
Absolutely. Eric Spoelstra is a good example of that. D3 coach, D3 player. Nobody knew about him, went into the video room with the Miami Heat, and now he's a head coach. You know what I mean? Mike Malone at the Nuggets, guys who started out as an assistant at small Manhattan University, now as the head coach of the Denver Nuggets. Like, you just, who they are now is not who they're going to, become in 10 years. And if you build a relationship now, whether or not you, as a player, if you have aspirations of being a coach, they remember. You always remember by who you are and how you present yourself and how you represent not just you, but how you represent your school. How you represent. Because I always tell kids, you wear your school name across your chest and you represent the school, and then you wear your family name if you put your names on the back of the jersey on your back. So you got your school over your heart and your family on your back. And that should mean something, not just to you, but the school community and to your family and to the people that you play for every day.
Yeah, that's a nice nugget. I'm gonna have to use that next season.
That's great recruiting pitch too. I stole that one from Andy Kennedy, head coach of Ole Miss, now UAB, but it's great recruiting.
Well, besides Small, none of us can have a recruiting pitch. If so, we'll mess around and be fired.
Oh yeah. Don't get fired. Don't get fired.
Well, I'm gonna pass the question to my man, Coach O at Blazeburg High School.
Yeah, that's a good insight, man. I got my notes, as every day. I got my notes. I'm always a sponge. And I owe a lot to Coach Bruce, because we was there during the journey. I was there first, and then when you came along, and the idea was, like I tell a lot of people, the idea was we just gonna keep it 100 to get rid of these young guys. That was the idea. Yeah. But we had a guy like James Butler that said, "Nah, I ain't doing that." And I tell people this all the time. Coach James Butler gave us a lot of responsibilities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. More than any coach that I know of that would give his assistants, you know what I mean? And that's why I owe him a lot, and sorry to cut you off, but I just feel like, Coach Butler, is one of those hidden gems, and may he rest in peace. But he gave a dude an opportunity. He gave me and you life to say that, you know what, as I go old and go through my journey, I want to pass this on to y'all, and I want to give y'all the responsibility. And that's what I think good head coaches are really good at, is building their assistants to at some point be ready to take over.
Yeah, and that's one thing. There's several things that I took away from Coach Butler, but we was also blessed, like I said the other night, we was also blessed to have a guy like Irv Hay.
Absolutely.
And I tell a lot of people when I was coaching JV, Coach Irv Hay was my assistant. Could you imagine that? Yeah. I'm learning from a guy that's been coaching, I don't know, at that time, probably 30 years. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's my guy forever, man. And you got something to say? Okay, so I'm gonna set this perfect segue to what I'm about to ask you. A lot of times, people get misled. Maybe I won't say misled, but we don't talk often about the assistants in college basketball. I want you to kind of express or talk about some assistants. You touched on it a little bit earlier with Perry Clark, and I think you said Chuck Martin, guys that assistants now. Can you talk about not just assistants at South Carolina, but some of the assistants now that you recognize and that you can see that these guys are actually putting the grind in as well, to kind of like highlight them too? Because a lot of times we talk about the head coach, but a lot of times to be a head coach, you got, in my opinion, you got to be a great assistant, because you got to be able to do that grind, because that's what we learned at Blazeberry. It was a grind. And we're not even going to talk about the stuff that was in-house that we had to fight through.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we had to fight with opponents. Can you talk about some assistants that's in the game,
man?
Man?
Yeah, I think honestly, if you want to be technical, I've been an assistant my entire life. You get what I'm saying? Like, I that's all I know is an assistant coach. I was a head coach. DC has thought I had a 17 and under crew, and then I had a 10 and under crew that I was a head coach. But when you talk about for an extended period, I've always been an assistant coach. So that's kind of all I know. And obviously, every great staff is predicated on having great assistant coaches. And every head coach was a great assistant at some point. You know what I mean? And I think like for me, I'm surrounded by a bunch of guys who every day go into the battle as assistant coaches, trying to be better coaches. So one day getting fortunate enough to be a head coach on my staff per se. Every guy on our staff, our coaches, have all been head coaches. Perry Clark was the head coach at the University of Miami, Tulane, Texas Corpus Christian. Chuck Martin was the head coach at Marist. So me, I'm getting an opportunity to gain more knowledge as an assistant coach, and I connect and talk to probably on a daily basis, probably maybe 25 to 30 assistant coaches a day.
Wow.
And I partially because I try to just, stay on the up and up. Like I told you before, information is powerful, and I'll call coaches at different levels, whether it's, my guy, Levi Watkins, who's an assistant coach at Ole Miss, who's in our league. I want to know what you're hearing, like what's going on in the league, like what's going on, like, who are you recruiting? You know what I mean? Like, what you hearing? Like, so, and then it's, guys like Corey McCray at Delaware, who, just trying to see, like, what's going on in his world. And these are guys that obviously come from the DMV area, who's had success as assistant coaches, who has visions of being head coaches next, up next. And so what I do is I'll take my pen and on paper, and I just write. You know what I mean? Like when I get on calls and I'm watching TV, I keep a pen and pad next to me, and I'm just writing. And I talk to assistant coaches every day, just asking them, hey, what you thinking? Whether it's a job that's out there, whether it's a recruit that's out there, whether it's something that you're doing with the players. And because as an assistant, you take on more response. Now the head coach takes on all the responsibility. They gotta take the fall for any negative. They gotta, when we win or lose, they gotta meet with the press. They gotta answer all the hard questions. They gotta make all the hard decisions. And our job as assistant coaches is to make our head coach's job easier. That's just day one. Like, make his job easier. Don't complicate his job more than it has to be. So if it's taking out and getting those little small fires out before it becomes a wildfire, getting out, doing that, whether it's talking to the academic advisor or the teacher before it gets to his desk, because when it gets to his desk, then it's a problem. So, like, our thing is, we always trying to make his job easier and get out the, make sure we get rid of those small fires before they run wild. And so, as an assistant coach, for me, every day I'm trying to engage in conversation with other assistant coaches, and I talk to some head coaches as well, just to know what's going on in the world. Stay in tune to the everyday intel and the everyday grind. Once again, that word grind of college basketball, because somebody has a story every single day.
You're absolutely right on that, man. And like I said, and get back on that word that you used, stubborn. I was that way too. I can remember the conversations that we used to have. Our varsity team win. JV lose by 50. But then one thing that you said to me was, hey, you got to understand, you never coached a kid twice. I said, what you mean? Like, kids will play for you in the 9th grade. By the time they're in the 10th grade, they ready to play. You know what I'm saying? Because you're doing your job as an assistant. You know what I mean? Right. So I had to take a lot of those things on the head, but then I realized that, it ain't about me. It's about developing and getting these guys ready to play. And that very instrumental to what we was able to accomplish at Blazeberry in that short amount of time together. And great insight on that. So I appreciate that. So I'm going to pass you on to Coach Desmond Small back at Washington Venice University.
Bruce, I appreciate you sharing the insight as an assistant. It just ring bells for me, because obviously I'm an assistant on the NAI level, and it's a major grind. O gave us an opportunity when it was time for him to take over the program and give me and John a ton of responsibilities that prepared me from where I am now, and just hearing other insights and just how you constantly learning and stuff like that. It's something, being on the collegiate level that I'm taking and grinding and everything else. But me being 2 years removed from high school, sometimes I miss the high school game a little bit. Obviously, you've been far removed from that for years now. But, I mean, is it some things about, because, in college it's a business. What are some things that you can say you possibly miss about the high school game, or something you can, share with?
Yeah, I mean, I would be lying if I said I didn't miss high school. I missed high school because, what high school, gave is the opportunity to teach and to help grow, and you had time. You get an incoming freshman who wasn't good enough or isn't ready yet, and you got time to groom them. You got time to watch them grow. At the collegiate level, you measured by wins and losses. So sometimes you can't wait for that freshman to get to his senior year, you know what I mean? And watch that development, because you don't have the time. In high school, you had the time to spend with those guys. Like, and for us as college coaches, the NCAA puts so many restrictions and rules on what we can do with certain kids and what type of interactions we can have with certain guys. In high school, it was a physical touch every day. I was taking kids home from school. I was taking them to McDonald's and feeding them and clothing them, and certain things. Now, and at this level, you can't do that. But at high school, you get that personal touch to maybe touch more lives than you possibly can at the collegiate level, because it becomes more of a business and it becomes more predicated on wins and losses. In high school, it's more, for me, I was more concerned about keeping these guys out of trouble, getting them through 4 years, whether they play basketball and go on and get a scholarship or not. I just wanted these guys to take 4 years of high school, take 4 years of mentorship, and go out and get a job. And my most important thing is like not just teach these guys, not just teach these guys to get a job, but how to keep a job, how to be a man to keep a job in this rapid world that we live in. We can help a guy get a job, but can you develop a guy and help them keep a job?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, man. I always credit the Bladensburg basketball program and coaches like yourself, and Butler, who instilled and personally helped me change my life around when I was, troubled youth from Bladensburg, and y'all gave me an opportunity to play, and all of the hard work and the things that y'all taught me led me on to my professional career and my coaching career. And I apply a lot of that knowledge there. And I agree with you 100%. We don't have as much limitations as the NCAA. We can kind of touch our kids kind of the same way
Right.
in the NAI level. But yeah, it's still the same exact way. It's a production business. If you're not producing, you got to move on from that scholarship from one kid to another. And it's a grind. And that's something I'm still getting used to because I care about the kids so much. But it's a business at the same time. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yep.
I'm gonna pass it to Will.
Yeah, Coach. I tell you what, I give you college coaches a lot of credit. People think it's easy that you guys just sit around and just look at film all day, look at plays and all that type of stuff, but they don't realize how stressful it is. And in my opinion, one of the biggest stresses in your guys' game is recruiting, because recruitment is crazy nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so my question to you is, how do you feel about now? It seems like colleges are recruiting off of other teams more by recruiting out the portal and stuff like that, and not so much high school. Because I know, just all of us in here trying to place our kids, because that's just how we are. And you get a lot of feedback. We trying to get this. If you're a Division I, we trying to see who's in the portal. If you're in the D2, we trying to get a drop down and all that type of stuff. So how is that?
Well, to your first point, which is, you look at coaches and they think, hey, they make X amount of money, or and they live in a life and they got the good life. But just like with anything, comes with responsibility. And I always compare like this college coaching to like Disney World. You know what I mean? So Disney World, you go to Disney World and you see Mickey in their suit, and you see Minnie and Daffy Duck and all that, and you just see them in their costume. And that's what the world sees. The world sees you on that entertainment basis at that game. The fans see you in your costume as a coach, but nobody knows what goes on inside that costume, what that person has to go through to prepare to get you to the point where you see the costume and you entertained. And I compare college coaching to that, is that we in that costume, and on game day, they see ESPN, the fans see us at the games, and we win, we lose, whatever the case may be, we entertain, but they don't know what goes on in that costume. They don't know what we deal with every day, with the everyday stress, the everyday grind, the recruiting, the everyday struggle to perform and to put out a product to entertain guys and entertain, fans. So when I think about your first point, is like, it looks good and it sounds good, but it's a hell of a lot of work, and it's a hell of a lot of commitment. And if you don't stay into it and you don't continue to push through it, it breaks you down. It breaks you down, and it broke some of the best down. And so with that being said, I just, like I say, I always bring that Disney World comparison. But when it comes to recruiting, man, the recruiting has taken a different landscapes with these rules, the transfer portal, and I may be wrong for saying this, but like, this transfer portal is now turning into like a real life free agency, like the NBA free agency, you know.
Yeah.
And I grew up with a mentality like I was the type of kid that like when we go hoop, you know what I mean, it's like you know, we hooping. You know what I mean? If I bring my ball to play and that's the only basketball that we got to play with, whether I lose or I'm winning or I lose, they want to continue to play. So I gotta stay there and play, whether I win or lose. And if I lose, I gotta sit and wait for next. And sometimes if you play, you know, when I played, like next could be forever, but you just had to wait for next. And if you know, it was what it was. And it wasn't that I wasn't that kid that was like, you know what, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home and everybody else got to stop playing or they got to find another ball or I'm going to take my ball and go to a new court. And I think that's what our generation is like now coming down to is like, you know what, I don't like my situation. It wasn't, you know, the coach he didn't promise me or he didn't give me the opportunity. So you know what? I'm gonna go put my name in the portal and I'm gonna see if I can find a better place. You know what I mean? And I always say, you know, and we always use this term, but the grass ain't always greener on the other side. And what the transfer portal has allowed kids to have it, and I think it works in both ways because there are programs where, you know, guys are being told one thing, and then when they get there, the total opposite is happening, and then now they have to relocate and go into that portal. But what it's doing is now you got 600 or 700 names in a transfer portal. Let's do the math. In the Division I transfer portal, just Division I, you got 737 names in the transfer portal, but you only have 400. You only have 400 scholarships remaining. So let's do the math. Somebody's getting left out.
Yep.
So now we say, okay, we're gonna leave that 300 and 400 out now, and they got to go to D2. You get what I'm saying? Or Division III or NAIA or whatever it may be. And then you got to think about the high school kids. They're getting destroyed the most. You get what I'm saying? Because if you think about a high school kid, now the coach is trying to juggle his roster. So he's looking at his roster like, oh man, I had a junior leave. I don't know if I can take a freshman and bring him in to fill that void that the junior left. So what I got to do is let me go in the portal and find me a grad transfer, an older guy that I can get that can fill that void, because I don't know if that freshman is ready just yet to help me win a hard game in whatever league I may be in. So now you talking about the numbers are just increasing. And so now the numbers of guys being left behind increases anymore. And it's the high school kids who are not your Jalen Greens of the world or your McDonald's All-Americans, but it's your guys that like are right there, that's close, that's like, you know, mid-major, maybe low major, now has to like entertain the opportunity. Now he got to entertain the idea of going to prep school because the numbers are so bad.
Yeah,
and the numbers are so distorted, and it's like now the high schools are being affected by it.
Yeah, because I think the JUCOs in D3 are really going to capitalize on it, because you're going to see a lot of kids now that's going to realize, you know what, JUCO might be my best option, because it seems like most schools are geared towards recruiting older guys.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to break down the numbers, if you look at the past national championships, college national champions, they've all been older. They all been juniors and seniors. You know what I mean? Like, these are guys that like are program guys, and these are the type of guys that we recruit. We recruit guys. We're not, you know, freshman and sophomore year. We're molding you. So when by the time you're a junior and senior, those are the guys. Those are the teams that win basketball games. When you talk about late in March and national champions, so you want to build an older team.
So my follow up to that question is, because I keep hearing that they're going to pass this one-time transfer rule. That's what I've been hearing.
Yep.
That it's pretty much a done deal. So what advice would you give us high school coaches? Because all of us in here have scholarship kids that's going to be coming up, you know, next year and years after that. What advice would you give us?
Here's my thing now, and I think this actually helps the kid with this one-time transfer rule. I think it goes into the board in June, where I think if I'm Frank Martin's on that NABC board, so I pick his brain every now and then. And he tends to believe that it's going to shift to, they're going to pass that rule, but it won't go in effect until 2021. So like this year, those guys that transfer will have to sit out unless they get a special waiver. And then in 2021, that that they're gonna really push it. But I think of it like this now, because with this one-time transfer rule, if you're a high school kid and you're getting recruited, by a low major, let's say like Mount St. Mary's, Wagner's, or the Northeast Conference, some of those, and smaller CAA schools, and you're looking at it like but I feel like I'm better. And I really want to play in the SEC or want to play high major college basketball. With this one-time transfer rule, hey, if you're good and if you think you're good enough, then what's stopping you from going to UMBC and showing your worth and then opening up that avenue? Now I think it's got to be some transparency with the coaches that's recruiting you, saying, hey coach, like I always had dreams of playing at the Power 5 school. So like, if I don't want you to be alarmed that if I'm cooking, I'm averaging 22, 23 points a game as a freshman, I want probably open up the idea of going into the portal, and coaches are going to have to adjust to these new rules, and my thing is, if I'm coaching a high school and I got a kid and, Louisville, Kentucky, South Carolina isn't knocking on the door right now, but you think you think that you could possibly get there, what's wrong with going to a lower level school, showing how good you are, and then potentially transferring up if you're that good? With the wave of the transfer portal and with all these rules going down, tons of opportunities are going to open. And then also, let's think about what the NBA is doing now. The NBA is introducing this G League where they're paying some of the best elite high school athletes to not even to skip college. So what that says is they're going to take 50 to 100 kids, and that number now, the next 50 and the next 100 is going to be recruited by the high major. So the next 100 or 200 will be recruited by the mid major, which opens up more opportunity for a kid, quote unquote, that was on the fringe of maybe going D2. Now I got a chance I can play Division I.
Yeah, I appreciate that advice, because I know it's something that all of us have dealt with this year with recruiting, and then with these rules changing, it don't seem like it's going to make it any easier for us, especially as public school coaches. So I appreciate that, and I'm going to pass it along to Coach Desmond Wade. I'm sorry, I'm going to Coach O.
Yeah, that's a great points by Coach, man. Bruce, we definitely appreciate you, man. And like I said, I owe you a lot, man. So, especially to have somebody that I can always text, call. I understand now why, and I'm going to tell a lot of people now so they can know why you don't answer so much, because you talk to 25 assistant coaches a day, but they're always working and grinding. But I get it.
True story, as I've been on this call, I got like 37 missed calls, and they're gonna be like, "Yo, bro, you looking me off, man?" Like, you know what I mean? And Chuck called me out one time. Chuck was like, "Man, you looked me off. I text you. You ain't text." I said, "Chuck, I text you back." "Oh yeah, you did. Yeah, you did." So you know what I mean? But like, but no, I appreciate you, man, and I appreciate our friendship. We come from humble beginnings. I got so many stories I could share about our relationships, whether it's sharing 5 wings and French fries from the carryout, or going down to the farmer's market to print some uniforms or sweatsuits so our teams could look halfway decent coming out of our pockets, to spend money to make sure that other guys look a certain type of way, or we sacrifice our gas, our homes, our everything for each other. So, what you do, I admire every day, and I appreciate our friendship, and I appreciate you guys having me on the call. And hopefully I was helpful. Hopefully I didn't ruin the coaching show, but I appreciate you guys having me.
Nah, everybody agree, man. As you look at the screen, every time you say something, I see everybody look at their paper, because we taking notes. So like, this is not something that this group of coaches right here, we pretty much, I'm gonna say every day, we text every day about basketball and about different ways to get our programs together and stuff like that. If we got any information, we always share it. That's why we call it a dry erase board panel. So, man,
Right.
that's what we do all day long.
Well, if you ever expand it to, you know what I mean, like you want to do this and X's and O's, like, you know, like this is like, you know, I told you I've always, since 12, I sit here, like I was drawing up plays right now while we were talking. Like I was just like drawing up some sets and quick hitters, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I stay engaged. So like if at any time, you know, you do want to pull a dry erase board, whether it's a quick hitter, a zone O, you know, like baseline out of bounds, you know, I'm always open to that conversation as well.
Absolutely. And everybody can agree to that. That'll be perfect. I know that's on our page next. Once we graduate from this Zoom, and we're going to make sure we start expanding it and getting the dry erase board out and making sure we do that, because that's one of the things that we do all day, any day anyway. So we definitely appreciate it, man. So now what we usually do about this time, we've been a little longer than expected, but this is what we like to do anyway.
My bad.
My bad. Definitely not you, because what we try to make sure that the coaches, so you won't get to like 50 missed calls so you can have time. We got all the time in the world. You know what I mean?
Okay.
We ain't doing too much, so we try to make it short for you all, but we wanted just to keep going just a little bit more. We have no more questions, but we want to open the floor up to you. If you want to ask any question of anyone that's on a panel, anything that you want to, you know, pick our brain a little bit, or anything that you want to leave for the people, for us to share with everybody else.
Yeah, I did have a couple questions. You know, obviously, you know, I follow PG County basketball and more than I follow, you know, any other county, probably because I played in it. I'm from that area. My question is, like, what are you guys as coaches doing to maybe put pressure on administration there in the county to give you guys the resources that you guys need to be able to compete or you know, or even, you know, compete or even challenge the likes of the WCAC and the surrounding counties? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I would go. One of the main things, I think the first thing that's going on right now is just trying to see if we can be eligible to play in the live period, the high school live period that happened last year at the Mather. I think that's number one. And, you know, so we got coaches like myself, Coach O, Coach Chuck Henry, Coach O'Connell at Roosevelt, and Coach Bolin at Paint Branch. So we're trying to, you know, get that diverse through all the conferences. We've been on Zoom calls, and, you know, that's been in place, I think, back like in October, and we were told no, but, you know, we're working on different things, like trying to create an all-star team, like one team from every conference, so we're being eligible to play in that live period. And so I think that's the number one thing that we're trying to push to administration, so we can compete with the WCAC schools, so that our kids can get that opportunity to play, and, you know, in front of college coaches, you know, whether it's at the Mather or whether we throw our own, you know, live period. So that's number one on our list, I believe.
I just feel like it creates a disadvantage, because if, you know, me, you know, going across the country recruiting in different levels, like PG County is probably, you know, well, Maryland public schools, I know New York had put something out, but Maryland public schools are just, you know, I want to say behind the eight ball when it comes to, like, you know, what's going on from a recruiting standpoint, and it puts your players in a disposition, because now we can't evaluate them, where they have opportunities where we can go out, because they don't give us many, and the times that we want to go out, if there's a guy in the county or the PG County, Maryland public schools, we can't go see him. And I think that's a total disadvantage, because another kid gets to take advantage of that opportunity. And, you know, we're giving out $50,000 scholarships, you know what I mean? So like I think that's something that I think needs to be fixed.
Yeah, and if I could add on to that, my fault, John. If I could add on to that too, I think that the biggest misconception about that rule, about a lot of public school coaches, a lot of them feel as though So what does that don't mean that South Carolina gonna recruit my kid. He's not gonna be able to go to SEC. See, what a lot of people don't understand, when you give a kid an opportunity, because we understand this, it wasn't nothing like taking Coach Hawk taking us down to Raffle University and playing in front of Division I coaches. Now, I'm not saying that Raffle was going to recruit us, but it gave us that extra added confidence and that boost up in skill level to see where you were, you know,
Right,
and then
right.
be evaluated. I'm not necessarily saying they're going to say, okay, we're going to offer you, but it's that opportunity to be there. So, like, even last year, you had kids that actually transferred from their
Mm-hmm.
public school so they can
Mm-hmm.
go play in the live period.
Yeah, I mean, it's important. It's important, though. And my thing is, it's like, okay, South Carolina isn't recruiting that kid at Parkdale, that kid at Southern, that kid at Bladensburg, but I do know Division II coaches. I do know Division I low major coaches, JUCO coaches, where I say, hey, man, that kid at Parkdale ain't bad. Like I'm over there. I went by and watched them play against. I watched them play against DeMatha. Yeah, I was looking at a kid at DeMatha because I've been recruiting them. But man, I saw this kid at Parkdale, and I mean, he ain't bad. Like I think you should recruit him. But that won't happen if those doors aren't open.
Absolutely. And that's what I was trying to touch on, because that's a big piece, because I think a lot of times, and you said like the state of Maryland, and don't get it wrong, I'm blessed to have this opportunity to coach in the state of Maryland. I said that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, because when you play, let's say, for example, when you play playoffs, remember how the playoff format was? It was a grind to get out. It was a grind to get out the play and win your region. So what I always used to say, when you go out of town and you visit these other schools, you see sectional champion, you see a regional champion, then you see a state runner-up, and then you'll see a state champion. All our emphasis was just put on your regional champion, and that's it. You know, we didn't do enough then. We're getting better at it now because we started to talk about it. But what one of the coaches touched on the other day, I think it was O'Connell, that the State of Maryland Football Association, they're strong. They make all their rules. So with us implementing the PG County Basketball Coaches Association, that's now another startup for us to start to get together and coming together with our thoughts and making sure our thoughts are heard. So those are some of the steps that we've been taking in the last couple of years, because people don't understand it. It's almost like, why do y'all need a shot clock? Now everybody understand, like, yeah, we've been needing a shot clock. You know, what is that going to do? You know, that was the biggest fight like a couple of years ago. Like, we all voted for, like, no, we need a shot clock, you know, because that's going to help prepare our guys for the next level, you know, and then, you know, and stuff like that. So that's one of the things that we fought for as well. So that's a great question, man. We definitely needed to hear that answer to those questions, and to actually hear that question from a coach that's on the Division I level. I don't know if anyone else want to chime in on that. Everybody good?
I got a question, another question. You guys, you know, like I say, you know, you guys are hit with tons of bricks, tons of disadvantages when it comes to, you know, you don't have a shoe deal, you know, or a shoe stipend or a contract like you know, Mike Jones at Nike and USA Basketball. They are covered for life. You know what I mean? And a lot of those schools, the Kevin Planks of the St. John's of the world, you know, you don't have that strong alumni backing. What do you guys do, or what I guess innovative approaches are you guys going to kind of, like, you know, at least try to get to a point where you can, you know, get your guys in nice uniforms and get your guys in the nice tournaments and create some type of money avenues for your team, so that you can, you know, look or compete with the best?
I'll take this one, Coach. So for me, I was at High Point last year, and now I'm at Blake. That's in Montgomery County.
Yep.
But I mean, I don't even know how it happened. It was pretty random. New Balance rep came over and talked to me, showed me some things, and, you know, just ordinarily, you're like, man, nah, I'm a Nike guy or I'm a Under Armour guy. So kind of stepping out there and then listening to what they had to offer, it came out to be a great deal. Something that I couldn't pass up on. And so like we were the only team in Montgomery County to do the whole New Balance thing. And we knew that it would be like a hit or miss. I mean, Kawhi had just won a championship, so I'm like, let's do it. Let's go for it. And we ended up getting a lot of good feedback, and it kind of excited everybody around. Like it was just a whole different look. Which then transitioned. Well, we're gonna miss the summer, but they were gonna do a New Balance camp that would kind of bring funds to the school, kind of on a fundraising tip. So then we'll kind of keep that going, and I guess now we got like banners and stuff. So like I said, luckily it just hit, and now so it kind of legitimized kind of our culture, and now we're trying to get everybody at our school on, and then it'll look like a united front. So that's just one way that I kind of went about it, and I know these guys do an awesome job as well. I know one year Coach John went with the Eat. And when I was in PG, and that kind of blew up. So we're definitely trying over here to bring that united front and raise the funds to keep up with everybody else.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, Wade. That was a great thing. I mean, when you first said it, everybody was like, but it's not so much us, it's our kids, you know what I mean? So like for our kids gotta, and I know it sounds kind of bad what I'm about to say, but kids pay attention to that. You know what I mean? Absolutely. I know when I first came back with Coach John and them, I brought them Mellows back in there, the all white Adidas. They ain't like that, you know what I mean? But that's all we could afford at the time. You know what I mean? So when they paid their money for the shoes, we brought those all white pro models back in. Remember those? We brought those back in. They ain't like those shoes, but at the same time, it's all we can afford. So with us being in the school system, and everybody knows this, we can no longer raise money to pay for kids' stuff. So now we got to. You can no longer raise money to pay for kids' stuff. Now, you remember how it used to be. You can't longer do that no more. So we would do fundraisers to try to cut the cost, because a lot of our kids have expenses. A lot of that, to ask a kid to pay $165 for a pair of shoes, a sweatsuit, a warm-up top, and all that. That's kind of tough. We fight. I know I couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we try to do. So we can no longer do that. So now we got to actually ask the kids, what they like. And now we're asking them what they like. Now their taste get a little expensive, but it's been a helpful thing because they get to actually see that, the stuff that I like, some that I can't afford. So I gotta make a way to figure out how do I prioritize what I want. So a lot of times we gotta get the kids input, get them to buy into it, and go that way. So our kids have been great with that because we got style. So we ain't gonna put them in something that we won't want to wear either. You know what I mean? So that's the biggest thing for us.
Got you.
Yeah. So that's it, man. I appreciate you, man.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. And like I say, as long as we quarantined and boxed in, I have nothing but time, and obviously would love to share whatever, So make sure. If the guys on the panel don't have my information, you can text it to them. My email, my my phone number. I'm open to any calls, conversations, ideas. Obviously, whatever I can offer, I want to see you guys, be successful. I want to see you guys reach all your goals, just like I'm pursuing all of mine every day. So any way I can help, just don't hesitate to hit me up.
Hey, Coach, can we get a Zoom with you, all the coaches, and you with a Zoom? Will we get some stuff from you, insight from you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like we can talk. I mean, right now, like I say, I got plenty of time. If we could pick a subject, we could pick, from a basketball perspective. I know we were just talking about recruiting and just a maintenance type of thing. But if it's always trickles down to X's and O's, and we want to, just talk about zone offense or some of the best, because I study this game a lot, so I've watched a lot of good coaches. Right now, I'm currently studying Purdue's offense. I think Matt Painter does a really good job of running some good misdirection stuff. So like right now I'm in the process of like studying him. I did a project on the NCAA tournament teams, in which every team that made the NCAA tournament last year, their best or their go-to set. So whatever quick hitter or their like money play. I remember in high school, you know, I remember motion one up was like our go-to play, and for some raw reason, we found a way to get a lob every now and then to James Washington. But like every team in the country that made the NCAA tournament, I just took their best play and I put it on I got our video guy to you know cut it up, and I put it on a video clip that you could watch there. You know, basically, you know, the best actions of every team in the NCAA tournament. And I thought that was a good project. And like I said, I'm working on Matt Painter's Purdue's offense, because I think they run some hell of good shit.
I just want to add that I'm glad you said that, because I'm gonna get on Synergy, and I'm gonna get on Synergy, and I'm gonna watch all of this Matt Painter stuff while I have time.
I'm
gonna look at all that stuff.
I mean, he runs some. The reason why I think of Matt Painter and I think of you, because you're the king of the glitch or the misdirection or the trick. You know what I mean? So like, you're gonna throw a box in one, a triangle in two. You're gonna think outside the box. So like, Matt Painter is one of those guys where you might think he going one way with it, they reverse it, they turn it, they duck you in on the opposite side, and then you worrying about the duck in and they hit you with a back flare. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, he runs some really good stuff. And so like, I said to myself, let me dissect some of his stuff.
Yeah, we definitely can do that. We're gonna set that up in the next. We ain't got nothing but time, so I mean, you know, so we're gonna definitely set that up, because that's one of the things that we talked about, having a play of the day or something like that to get the people half court sets and stuff like that people that are watching. So I mean, we definitely appreciate you, man. Once again, for the behalf of the Drive Race Board panel, we want to say thank you, and be safe, man. I see you in the Madden in about 2 hours.
Yeah, don't duck me. Please don't duck me. I've been waiting for this for about 24 hours, all right? So please don't duck me, all right? And y'all have a good one, man.
All right.
It's not an option, deserted.
Have a good one.
Only lions in my circle, we hungry for purpose. That's the difference of all these stripes, you can see that I earned them. Can't fuck the system, take the knowledge and study and learn it. Be as strong as the weakest, 1 through 12 is equal. Tried to trap me, saw it now, you know I had to thread the needle. You know I had to thread the needle, dry erase and draw it up, just trying to see my youngins eating. Yeah, you know I had to thread the needle, dry erase and draw it up, just trying to see my youngins eating.